Here we are. Happy Monday. Mondays seem a little bit weird now because they are not officially multiple choice Mondays anymore, considering the AP test does not have any multiple choice questions. Yay. So instead, multiple choice Mondays kind of become optional. So I definitely want to encourage you guys to still do the multiple choice. So what I posted for you, here, if I can do this, and then I can show you. So the multiple choice is now optional ACT practice. Oops, I don't need to do that. Sorry. So it's optional ACT practice, which I don't know if you guys saw in the counselor's Google Classroom. They talked about how you should probably sign up for the ACT in June or July, just so you know that you get to take it. And they gave information for, like, if you're on free or reduced lunch, you can still get the waiver by emailing Mr. Lucas, so that way you don't have to pay for it. And if you're not, I know it's kind of a bummer you have to pay for it this time, but it's just, you know, kind of good to make sure you get to take it now, so that you're not kind of waiting too long. So anyway, this Albert, I attached another English practice because Miss Leona and I had heard from students that they wanted more practice with the English editing one, like you did last week, kind of fixing mistakes. So again, it is optional. You don't have to do it, but it is really good practice if you're planning to take that ACT, especially in June or July. Even if you're not going to be able to take it then, you have to take it eventually. So yeah, it's good practice. Otherwise, what we're going to be doing now on Mondays and Tuesdays is prepping for your AP test. So it's going to look really similar to what we did with the Claire Booth Luce speech that you guys did, where you read and analyzed it. It's a former AP prompt. Read and analyzed it one day, and then the next day read an intro and a body paragraph, so that you're practicing those rhetorical analysis skills. Okay, so that's your number one task today, is completing the attached document. It's just going to have you read and annotate it, which we will start together. And then the new piece I really wanted to emphasize, we've been like going back and forth, clarification about assignments and essential questions and all this with district and admin. So finally, it's for sure, I need to be posting a separate question for attendance. And this is just to see who's showing up. So the assignments are there to allow you to boost your grade or increase your grade, but the attendance is there just to count as you're showing up to class. So you need to make sure, everybody needs to make sure they are completing these essential questions as attendance, because you have to complete at least 50% of those to keep or improve your grade from third quarter and not earn an incomplete. So this attendance question, I'll always post it as a separate little Google form, and it'll just be one question. Today I asked to see how your weekend was, but I won't do that every single day. But it'll just be one question related to what we're doing in class. Okay, so yeah, you'll just click on the Google form right there, and it will take you here, type your name, click your class period. Some people, I think it's funny, some people forget what class period they're in. Try to make sure to click the right one, because it makes it a lot easier for me to go through them. And then, yeah, you'll type your answer. What part of the Florence Kelley text did you find the most interesting and why? And then you can answer the weekend question if you want to. Okay. Any questions about what you need to do today before we jump into the Florence Kelley text together? Sweet. Then let's do this thing. Okay, so you can even see I'm trying to keep the format of the document similar, so you guys really get used to this idea of reading and annotating the text. Okay, so you're going to read the prompt in the passage. Today you are just annotating the text, and tomorrow you will write your intro and body paragraph. So the first thing we always need to do is analyze the prompt that AP gives you for the rhetorical situation. So we should be able to pull out the speaker, purpose, audience, context, and exigence just from this prompt alone. So you guys can go ahead and type it into the document here. Okay, so Florence Kelley, 1859 to 1932, was a United States social worker and reformer who fought successfully for child labor laws and improve conditions for working women. She delivered the following speech before the convention of the National American Women's Suffrage Association in Philadelphia on July 22nd, 1905. Read the speech carefully, then write an essay in which you analyze the rhetorical strategies Kelley uses to convey her message about child labor to her audience. Okay, oh my gosh, we got all the good information here. So let's start with speaker. Who can you guys tell me the speaker is?
Florence Kelley.
What do we know about her?
She is the author. No, I'm just going to.
Social worker.
Social worker. Good. And?
Reformer.
Yep, reformer for child labor and women's labor. Cool. Now you guys, I'm pretty sure you learned about Florence Kelley at some point in your history class, correct?
No.
No.
Don't lie to me. I thought you wrote a whole essay on reform movements for Miss Secor.
We did, but
Not.
She was one of your options. I don't think many people picked her, but I think you had an option of Florence Kelley. But you could have also picked like Elizabeth Cady Stanton, like a bunch of choices. Maybe not. Okay, but it's around the same era, if that helps you, because remember, you want to always draw on your context and things like that. So you would have learned about her around that same time as some of those other reformers. So what is her purpose in this speech? What do we see that her message is about here? What's she going to be talking about?
Trying to improve conditions.
Yeah, okay, definitely improving conditions, because it tells us her message is about what in the prompt. Message and purpose are always super closely related, and it tells us her message is about,
and also child labor, like creating child labor laws.
Yeah, child labor. So see how it says here, anytime it tells you here Kelley uses to convey her message about child labor, okay, that's clearly part of her purpose. All right, now her audience, it doesn't state it directly, but we can very clearly figure out the audience based on the information that's given. So if we look, we can kind of skip ahead to context and then go back to audience. Here it says she delivered the speech before the convention of the National American Women's Suffrage Association in Philadelphia on July 22nd, 1905. So our context is always where and when this is happening. So we know exactly when, 1905, in Philadelphia. But we can see kind of, Philadelphia. We can see, especially because it says she's a U.S. social worker and reformer, that it's still like, context would still be the U.S. as a whole as well. And then who would her audience be because of where she was giving the speech?
A woman.
National American Women's Suffrage.
Excellent. National American Women's Suffrage Association. Okay, so she was at like an association meeting convention in Philadelphia at that time. So the people who are a part of that are her direct audience. Okay, so we always want to think of who is the very specific audience. Okay, and then the exigence, again, you'll see like all of this information kind of overlaps and starts to repeat itself a little bit. But exigence is the like specific spark. So 1905 was like the general time period, but if her purpose was needing to improve conditions, what does that tell us sparked her to write it? What was the problem?
Horrible conditions?
Yeah, horrible conditions for child labor. Horrible conditions or child labor laws. So that's what was happening at the time. There were really bad or no laws in place or something like that. And then I just want to see, again, context. Again, you want to draw off of what you guys already know. So in 1905, you know that this was a time of a lot of reformers, right? Time of reform movements. Is there anything else you kind of recall about the time period then?
It was the progressive era?
Progressive era. So you can reference that. If you remember that terminology, when you're writing your intro paragraph, you can acknowledge, like, during the progressive era, when all of these reform movements were taking place, Florence Kelley specifically was yada, yada, yada. So kind of keep that in mind. The more you recall about the time period itself, the more effective and smooth your analysis is going to be. All right. Okay, so then the second step is to go through the passage. Remember, we're always annotating for the same three things. What is the author saying? Why are they saying it? How are they saying it? So the first one's already done for you, but I'll still kind of walk you through. We'll read it together and go over how I pulled out those annotations. And then we'll do the next section together, and then we'll do the rest on your own. Okay, so Florence Kelley at her National Women's Suffrage Association speech says, "We have in this country 2 million children under the age of 16 years who are earning their bread. They vary in age from 6 and 7 years in the cotton mills of Georgia, and 8 and 9 and 10 years in the coal breakers of Pennsylvania, to 14, 15, and 16 years in more enlightened states. No other portion of the wage earning class increased so rapidly from decade to decade as the young girls from 14 to 20 years. Men increase, women increase, youth increase, boys increase in the ranks of the breadwinners, but no contingent so doubles from census period to census period, both by percent and by count of heads, as does the contingent of girls between 12 and 20 years of age. They are in commerce, in offices, in manufacturing." Okay, so in reading this, I'm like, here's the beginning. We've got some sort of introduction to the problem. So she's introducing this issue of how many children are in the workforce and how rapidly it's growing, especially for young girls. So we see, like, that's the big thing that's happening right now. I think she says it twice, right? That's the big increase we're seeing is girls ages 12 to 20, 14 to 20. So if I think about space, why she's starting with this information, well, I mean, I can go back and even think about here, right? She's going to get into this, like, this is what's sparking her to give this speech in the first place, is here's the issue at hand, okay? This is the problem that sparked her to write it, is that this number is growing so large. So it's still, we still haven't gotten necessarily to the specific conditions that are horrible, other than the fact that you can see in that first paragraph, 6 and 7 year olds are working. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine? Yeah. Oh my gosh, when I was 6 or 7, I was just like doing whatever the heck I wanted. I wasn't working.
I mean, then again, I did have a lot of energy, so.
So we're just kind of starting to get into that. This is what's sparking her to do it, is we see this like huge increase in girls working at the time. Okay.
So why is always exigence?
Yeah, when you think of like, well, it's not always exigence. Any part of space that you can notice. Yeah, so I feel like that's what really comes through here. We do get, I mean, you could also talk, there's not really a correct answer to be annotating for. You could definitely also talk about context, considering she gives details of like Georgia versus Pennsylvania. You know, so she's definitely giving us some background information there as well. So we could even add that if you guys want. This is just get you started. So context when giving details about Penn and Georgia specifically, because you can kind of see how those states are a little bit different. So we do get the information that every state has its own laws, right? Okay. And then if we look at how, so the first thing that jumped out to me was this, but then we can even talk about, I noticed some other stuff once I was reading it to you guys this time. So I definitely saw like she's giving a lot of background information and facts about the problem. So I'm seeing her appeal to logic and credibility by giving those facts. And I feel like the we in the beginning is really significant because she's saying we as a country. So I noticed that she's really trying to unite the whole country. Like this is a problem for all of us. So I think that's really a very strategical choice there. The other thing I noticed was she was like being very vivid in her description or being very specific. So this kind of ties into this idea about her giving facts. Again, comparing Pennsylvania and what they're like versus Georgia. Okay, so she's being very specific in her description. So these are all things I notice about how she's saying what she's saying. Giving those facts, establishing that credibility, really uniting the country as specific. Okay, so we'll go ahead and look at the next section together, and I'm going to see what you guys can come up with for the what, why, and the how here. Okay, so tonight, while we sleep, several thousand little girls will be working in textile mills all the night through in the deafening noise of the spindles and the looms spinning and weaving cotton and wool, silks and ribbons for us to buy. In Alabama, the law provides that a child under 16 years of age shall not work in a cotton mill at night longer than 8 hours. And Alabama does better in this respect than any other southern state. North and South Carolina and Georgia place no restrictions upon the work of children at night. And while we sleep, little white girls will be working tonight in the mills in those states, working 11 hours at night. In Georgia, there's no restriction whatsoever. A girl of 6 or 7 years, just tall enough to reach the bobbins, may work 11 hours by day or by night, and they will do so tonight while we sleep. Okay, so the what here is pretty clear. What is she describing is happening right now in this part of the speech? What is she saying?
While we sleep, these girls are working.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right?
Yes.
So while adults are sleeping at night, young girls will be working all night in the textile mills. That's the big thing she was talking about. Okay, so again, when we think about space here, why is she telling us this information about the young girls working the whole time? Which letter of space do you think that really connects to? It kind of overlaps with a couple, but what's really drawing to you guys right now?
Purpose?
Purpose, absolutely, right?
Yeah,
I mean, she's giving us, it sort of kind of comes with context and purpose together. Like, here's what's happening, and she wants to speak out against it. She wants to stop it. So she is showing the problem that relates to the purpose she wants to achieve, changing this or speaking out against it. Okay, the rhetoric here, wow, oh my goodness. So before we even try to identify a technique, what like details or quotes from this section really pop out at you guys a lot?
The specific states.
The specific states, okay. Do you notice that? What other words that does she use that are like really impactful? Because that's what rhetoric is all about, like the words that really kind of grab attention.
Maybe
When she put no restrictions whatsoever.
No restrictions whatsoever. Yeah, definitely. Abdur, what did you think?
Deafening noise.
Deafening noise. Absolutely. There's one that definitely stuck out to me a bunch because she says it multiple times. And I think that's like a really big thing that she's trying to emphasize.
Is it like a word or a phrase?
A phrase. I mean, you even referenced it when we talked
And
about
then-
what she was saying.
And they will do so tonight while we sleep.
While we sleep, right? She keeps saying while we sleep, while we sleep. Okay, so that's a big deal. Even if she didn't repeat it, I think it's still really impactful that she's saying like while we're sleeping, because again, she's contrasting. We're gonna be sleeping. That's so nice.
Yeah.
Getting our rest. And what are they gonna be doing?
Working 11-hour shifts.
Working 11-hour shifts. So you just see that like huge contrast. And so that she's really playing to the audience by describing that. Like, so what does she kind of appeal to if she's saying while we sleep? What do you think?
Emotion.
Yeah, definitely emotion. What does she want to make them feel?
Guilt.
Guilt.
Or not necessarily guilt, but like empathy or empathy.
Excellent. And I really like that you clarified that because it's not really necessarily their fault, so they don't necessarily need to feel guilt, but they should feel sympathy or empathy for these kids because that's not right for them. We get to sleep and they have to be working 11-hour shifts. Okay, so we see appeal to emotion by evoking sympathy when saying while we sleep.
Can that also be repetition?
Yeah, definitely. Repetition, and we'll add it that way, and appeal to emotion. And then I also want to include the other stuff that you guys mentioned here, and vivid description. So the vivid description, I feel like, is kind of working to do that same thing, right? She's still trying to elicit that sympathy from the audience. But like Abdur, how you noticed her say like deafening noise, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like really vivid, and that's why you feel so bad for them, right? Like we have this quiet, like peaceful sleep, and they have this deafening noise keeping them awake while they're working for 11 hours. So vivid description helps with this too. Deafening noise. And then I just want to help you guys like practice pulling out these quotes like as you're annotating without being able to highlight. We can't like highlight or underline on this. And I don't know yet if you're going to be able to annotate on the AP test since it's online. So you still want to be like pulling out those quotes as you're reading and jotting them down somewhere. So that's kind of why we're taking our annotations here separately, because we can't like mark the passage necessarily on the AP test. Okay. All right. Well, I feel like you guys are on a roll here. So what I want to do is I want to set you loose to like be able to practice it on your own. Again, tomorrow in our live class, we'll go over so you can check your annotations and see how you did. You've got a couple more sections to do on your own, and then you'll do that final step of once you've finished reading the whole thing. What do you think her overall purpose was, and what were the 3 to 5 most significant rhetorical choices that you saw shaping that piece of statement? All right. Well, I have so much faith in you that you guys are going to rock this. If you need help, you know I have my office hours from 1 to 2. But otherwise, when we come back tomorrow, we'll go over the answers together for the whole time. Okay? Anything else before you guys head out?
That's it. Thank you, Miss Mary.
Thank you, Miss
Of course.
Mary.
Have an awesome day. Enjoy your Monday.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.